If you were a teen in the early 2010s with internet access, you probably know what I'll be talking about today. Vaporwave. What is it? Is it making a comeback? Where did it even come from? In this video, we're going to break down the Vaporwave aesthetic, and I'm going to walk you through a poster designed entirely in Kittl and explore how these elements came together to form a Vaporwave poster. Before we start, the full editable Kittl project is linked in the description, so go ahead and explore, remix, and customize this style however you want. And of course, we also made a little Vaporwave Spotify playlist, so go check that out if you want to get into the mood. I love listening to music while I'm designing, and I love listening to music that matches the design. So yeah, go check that out. The link is also in the description. Before we dive into the visuals, let's talk about where did Vaporwave come from. Vaporwave, just like many other design styles, actually originated as a music genre in the early 2010s. It was basically a remix of smooth jazz with corporate beats and elevator music, I guess. But instead of copying them, the artists just slowed down and reverbed and added these glitches effects, and the results were very eerie and very nostalgic and hypnotic. So this style then evolved into a full visual movement. People started pairing this music to retro graphics. So what you see a lot in Vaporwave design: early internet interface, 80s mall aesthetic, old Japanese software vibes, classical sculptures, and surreal digital compositions. Vaporwave at the time became a way to comment on consumer culture and lost tech and digital memory. It's nostalgic, but it's also a little bit ironic, just like every maximalist design style ever, which I do love. Okay, so let's break down the design. Yeah! There's a lot going on here, but everything is placed with intention, okay? Believe me, I call this intuitive design. Everything's clashing a little, but in a way, it feels balanced. You can make over-the-top designs and maximalist designs feel balanced. I could start with the centerpiece here, but I want to start with the background. As you see, I use this sort of a starry sky background, but a gradient background or some sort of maybe watery 3D or Y2K background would also look really good for this style. I like what I chose for this. You can just go ahead and click on textures because you'll find a background tab with literally hundreds of backgrounds that are already there, ready to be used, just waiting for you. And I just searched for stars and it gave me some starry night sky backgrounds. I'm gonna choose a random one just so you see how you can manipulate it as well, okay? So now you see that the sky is not black and white. And then you just go ahead and click on adjustments and turn the saturation all the way down. That's how you can make any image black and white. Then I adjusted the contrast and the opacity, and it looked perfect to me. But let's go back to my original background because I like that better. But you get the vision, right? Now let's break down the elements I used for this design. I'm starting with the classic retro UI element. This retro interface windows, they go back to early operating systems, which for the context, early 2010s, they weren't that old, okay? I think it wasn't like a old tech at the time. Now it is. I mean, we're talking over 10 years ago for sure. Anyways, if you go to the Elements tab and you search for Vaporwave, you'll find tons of these. So just use the Vaporwave keyword and you're good, basically. Literally, look at this. Help yourself. You got so many different options. Just go ahead and you can change the colors, you can customize it, and you're good. Now, the centerpiece here is this Greek bust that you see. It's a classical art reference, which is something that shows up a lot in Vaporwave design. It creates this contrast between ancient and digital. So just go ahead and search. Well, I searched for a statue and I found a couple of options. But if they're not enough, click on any element you want. That would work with any element you want. So click on the statue and press Ctrl K to open the Copilot, and you immediately find just a bunch of similar elements. Now, let me teach you how I made the statue kind of like greenish, how I changed the colors. If you ever click on an element that it's a raster, which in very simple terms, okay, very like condensed. It's an image, like an image with pixels. You see the photo panel filter right there. So you see that there's saturation, there's contrast, there's noise, hue. So the hue is basically going to change the dominant color of your image. So I moved the slider around until I found this greenish tone that you see on your screen. And I just adjusted the contrast so I can make the colors more sharp and the vibrancy as well. And I don't know, maybe some tweaks. I suggest that you explore the photo filter panel and see what works for you. Okay, another pretty important element we have here are these columns, which if you go to the Elements tab, let's do it together. If you go to the Elements tab and you look for columns, you see that they're either icons or they're illustrations, and it's not really what I'm looking for. So I quickly just generated them with Kittl AI. I'm going to use a very simple prompt to generate one. Obviously, it's not going to be the same thing. Like it's not going to be the same ones that you're seeing in the design. But as you can see, this can easily be used too. I mean, if that's not the type of column you want to use, just tweak the prompt and you do you. Moving on to this iconic triangle here. I say iconic, like it's weird. How can a triangle be iconic? But this triangular shape is a very common and a lot of Vaporwave designs, but also it goes back to Memphis, postmodernism, and 80s design and synthwave design. But anyways, so this is how I created, and I just basically click on the button and click and drag my cursor and you create a triangle. So I hide the color and I add a border, and I also added a subtle shadow with another color, with this mint color. And it looks even a bit glowy, a bit neon, which I think is pretty cool. Now we got another super Vaporwave-like element, which is the checkered pattern or the grid. I looked for grid on our Elements panel, and you'll find some pretty cool things to use on Vaporwave and synthwave design. But then again, Ctrl K, folks. Kittl Copilot changed lives. I said it. I am addicted. Addicted to Kittl Copilot. I'm addicted to Ctrl K. Okay, I've been pressing that all the time. We also have these palm trees here that can be easily found on the Elements panel too. I mean, we're all over the Elements panel today. And what I did was, as you can see, I stacked two on top of each other, and I changed the colors to give this kind of dual tone or almost like 3D-ish effect. But then I quickly realized, duh, I can do the same by adding a shadow to it. Like what I'm doing right now. I didn't even need to go through the hustle. It was simple before, but it's even simpler. Then I added some cool cursors just because I think it looks cool. I mean, I think all of these illustrations that are kind of retro UI, they look cool with Vaporwave. So the real question here was what not to use. That was tough. That was a real, you know. And then we're going to the finishing touches. We have this gradient bar and these gradient circles that I'm going to speed through it real quick. But this is basically how you create gradients in Kittl. In case you didn't know, now you know. You just need to change from solid color to either linear or radial gradient, and there you go. And now I added this frame around it just because it made sense to hold everything together. But just letting you know that you can round corners in Kittl. So if you don't like this sharp vibe, you can go with a round vibe. And now it's time for text. This is written Vaporwave in Japanese, or at least I hope so. It's what Google told me. So let's talk different alphabets in Kittl, okay? Now, not all fonts support various alphabets like Japanese, Chinese, Arabic. So you can go to fonts and you can search for the language you want to use. Like here, I am looking for Japanese, and you'll be able to see all the fonts that support the Japanese alphabet. So you can do that with a specific language. And lastly, one final thing is texture. Obviously, I love me some texture. I added a folded paper texture just because I wanted that retro feeling that it's part and it's intrinsic in Vaporwave. And it's just so easy to add textures in Kittl. Like, come on, you just go to the texture menu, you choose one, and you play around with the blending mode, and the opacity, as you see, like what I'm doing right now, and boom, that's it. You got texture, and that's our Vaporwave design. Everything is layered in a way that creates this weird, organized chaos. It's not flat. You can see that there's movement. Everything is movement, and that's the essence of Vaporwave. It's chaotic. Yeah, I kind of like it. So in conclusion, Vaporwave, it's not about being clean or minimal. It's about this surreal, cyber, and synthwave nostalgia with that 2010s attitude. It mixes references and eras and formats that open space to the weirdness and emotion to exist in design. If you never played with this style before, it's honestly such a funscape and such a fun way to practice maximalist design. So go ahead and give it a shot. All right, what do you think of Vaporwave as a design style? Is this something you've played with before or not really? I'd love to hear your thoughts, your favorite elements, or even link down your Vaporwave design below. I'd love to see that. Yes.
Well, yes.
And if you want to start experimenting with this design style yourself, the full editable Kittl project is linked in the description below. Don't forget about that. So go check that out. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. It really helps us keep making content like this. And the more we grow, the more tools, tips, and design deep dives we'll be able to share with you. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!